Good morning. Thank you guys for being here. Before I start the meeting, I want to announce that if you are parked in the parking garage across the street, a new flash parking self-validation machine is located in the foyer between council chambers and the security desk you walk through to enter these chambers. You must have your ticket with you to use the machine. If you do not have your ticket, see lobby personnel when exiting for a validation coupon so you don't have to pay for parking. I'm going to call this recommending committee of our December 2nd, oh my goodness, happy December, 2019 to order. Are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
Yes, we are.
This meeting has been posted in various locations throughout the city. Okay. Our first item Bill number 2019-44 for possible action, amends LVMC Chapter 13.04 to add a new section to authorize the Department of Operations and Maintenance to determine and designate hours of cleaning for public sidewalks. This bill was sponsored by our mayor. And does anyone wish to be heard? Staff?
Mayor Pro Tem down here, Deputy City Attorney Jeff Dorkak. I'll lead off by just reading what the proposed section to be added to the code would be, and then I know we have the Director of Operations and Maintenance in the audience, Jerry Walker, to provide any feedback that the committee might have. So what this bill would do, it would create a new Section 90 to Chapter 13.04, which would read as follows. The Director of the Department of Operations and Maintenance is authorized to determine and to designate hours of cleaning for public sidewalks. The director or a designee must place appropriate signs or markings to give notice of designated hours of cleaning. During such designated and noticed hours of cleaning, no person shall sit, lie, sleep, camp, or otherwise obstruct the cleaning of the designated public sidewalks by the Department of Operations and Maintenance. And that's the entirety of the proposed amendment to the city's municipal code. As I mentioned, Jerry Walker is available for questions right now, or if you just want to open up the public hearing, and he could respond to any questions thereafter.
Thank you so much. Does anyone wish to be heard on this item? I have some cards. I'll call your name if you're here. Maria Teresa Lieberman, Don Christensen, if you guys can just come up and line up. And there's 3 mics. You guys can each go to each mic. Tom Douglas and Ron. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's a different ordinance. I apologize. It's just Maria Teresa Lieberman on this ordinance. Thank you so much, Mrs. Lieberman.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for your time, recommending committee. I am here standing in opposition to Bill 2019-44, just because, as I stated previously in the last meeting with the last homeless ordinance of this type, it just feels that it should be something that our city should not be doing in order to try to solve the problem of homelessness. I know that it is an issue that we're all trying to solve, but instead of fining and jailing people, we should find housing first options. And I'm not an expert on this issue. I'm simply a person that lives in Las Vegas that thinks that this is not the way to go about it. And I'm sure there are other experts that you will all hear from, but I just encourage you to really open up your mind and see that we have other options on the table that we should look at, and we can work together to actually come with a solution that not only helps many interested parties that want to help the issue of homelessness, but the people that are on the streets themselves, and ensure that they have the resources that they need to get on their feet and have a home. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Lieberman, can you just for the record state your address?
4540 Standing Bluff Way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we have Emily Roush in the audience? And Mrs. Roush, can you just state your name and address for the record? No? Okay. Okay. Does anyone else wish to be heard on this particular bill?
Hello, Councilman and Councilwoman. I'm Emily Paulson.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps it was misread.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You write like me.
I was in a rush. I live in Ward 5 of the city of Las Vegas.
That's great.
And I'd like you to oppose this bill moving forward, Bill 2944. It is a camping ban. It is another ordinance which would criminalize homelessness. I want to share with you how HUD defines what criminalization of homelessness is, and I think this is important because
Okay, so this isn't our homeless ordinance, I just want to make sure that you're speaking, this is about cleaning our sidewalks. And so when I just want to make sure that you're crystal clear that this is about cleaning our sidewalks, this is not about our homeless ordinance. And so far to date, as we constantly hear rhetoric that is not true, we are making sure to keep close tabs, and no one has been arrested. We still have a lot of space in our corridor of hope. This is literally about cleaning the sidewalks. This ordinance has nothing to do with the other one.
this bill, the way it's written, makes it illegal to sit on a sidewalk. Therefore, it is an ordinance that would criminalize homelessness.
Okay.
No doubt about it. So I want to just read for you, if I may, how HUD defines the criminalization of homelessness. Examples of laws and policies that criminalize include, but are not limited to, banning camping or sleeping in public, vagrancy, sitting, loitering or begging in public places, evictions from homeless camps, also known as homeless sweeps, restrictions on panhandling, and banning living in vehicles. So this bill, the language in the bill absolutely fits within that definition. It is an anti-camping bill, it is an anti-homeless bill, and it is a bill that will criminalize homelessness. So it is another homeless ordinance.
Thank you,
And I think
Mrs.
that the intention is to clean the streets, that there needs to be some very clear parameters around when these laws could be enforced, what is reasonable. There's no limitations or parameters in the language of the bill currently. So it's very problematic for that reason, and that this could be a wide sweeping ban on homelessness in the city of Las Vegas. So we're asking you to amend the language of the bill. If anything, well, first and foremost, we'd like to see this bill be opposed and not move forward. But if it's really about cleaning the streets, we need to be really practical in how a bill is crafted in a way that wouldn't criminalize homelessness.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. Okay. Those are all different things. Thank you so much. Hearing none, can I have a motion, Councilman Knutson?
I think we might have some more public comment.
Jonas Rand?
Yes. I, Councilwoman Fiore, and council members, I just want to say that, yes, this is a ban on it's a ban on camping, so it is indeed an attempt to criminalize homelessness. And not only that, it's another salvo in the ongoing class war on homeless folks. I think that it is definitely something that goes hand in hand with that homeless ban. And I think that it's despicable to think of putting people who don't have housing in jail before we talk about things like housing first. I think it's also ultimately irrational for us to talk about jailing the people who are victims of a societal problem that we failed to address, that the city of Las Vegas has failed to adequately provide for the needs of those affected in said situation. And it's necessary for us to point it out that the city has done nothing to accommodate directly the people affected by homelessness, while relying on several things that I think are nothing more than excuses. Things like saying that people who are homeless are just mentally ill, are just unable to integrate into the rest of society, and by dehumanizing them, as was done when the homeless ordinance was passed earlier. So I feel like another thing that needs to be brought up about this is that it proves that the discussion earlier about the homeless ordinance involving just an attempt to get people into the courtyard or into shelters as a first resort, and then only jailing them as a last resort, was not a good faith, truthful premise. To throw people off the street during hours scheduled for cleaning is really a way to say homeless people should be in jail for trying to find a place to survive. And when we do that, we are
Thank you, Mr. Rand.
saying that's no real reason. There's no real reason behind acting like they're.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rand. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard on this bill? Please state your name and address.
Joey Lankowski, 89052. I'm here to speak out against this bill because just like the last bill, it's a war on the poor, it's criminalizing poverty. Only this one's worse because you have no limitations. There's nothing specific in the bill, and it's leaves it ripe for abuse. So say the shelters are full, now that you've got that law, you can go under the guise of this new law and arrest people. So I don't think that's right. Also, if you're gonna be telling them to go to places like the courtyard, which is an unsafe environment for youths, I spoke to a woman, I do homeless outreach every week. I spoke to a woman who was raped by an employee at the courtyard. She also said that several women have been molested there. Other shelters have other issues like bed bugs and whatnot. So forcing people into unsafe environments where they don't want to be there is not the answer. If they want to survive the elements using a camping bag or sleeping bag or a tent, that's their prerogative. And I don't think that this bill is any solution to any problem. I mean, are you having trouble cleaning the streets? Maybe whoever's doing the cleaning could approach the individual and ask them politely, hey, look, I'm gonna clean up this spot for you. Do you mind moving for a few minutes? Not, hey, you need to get the fuck out of here or I'm gonna arrest you, throw you in a cage and charge you with a $1,000 fine and 6 months in jail. So that's all I gotta say, thanks.
Thank you, and so that's never happened. So this is the thing that really kind of disturbs me, because this ordinance is about cleaning the streets, and that's exactly how our homeless will be approached, is we need to clean the street. Can you please move out of the way for a little bit until we're done? So no one, our marshals and our enforcement are not going to say what you said. And the things that really, I would love you to come and show the people, anyone behaving in that fashion to any of our homeless. Again, this ordinance is about cleaning our street. That's all it is. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this bill?
Good morning. My name is Nathaniel Phillips. I'm a Ward 5 resident. I live at 3705 Snorkel Circle. I'm also the organizing manager with Make It Work Nevada. We are a nonprofit community advocacy organization based here in downtown. Our organization advocates and centers everyday people, but especially working class women of color, and especially Black women, and we advocate for policies that help them make it work, such as affordable childcare and paid family leave, and other, again, everyday basic issues. We want to strongly discourage the council from this ordinance, or at least to take a much more careful and intentional approach than the last one. I am, what's the word, not as terrified. I'm still concerned that it's sponsored by your colleague to your right, who was one of the original folks in opposition to the criminalization bill. Something that I want to highlight, and the work of the Nevada Homelessness Alliance and Emily Paulson speaks to this, is that ordinances like this, besides being, many would argue, unconstitutional, also carry a disparate racial impact and also a class impact. It's inevitably, as is the other ordinance, going to target people who look like me. There's no one on the council or even on the dais right now who looks like me. It's going to target Black people more than anyone else, and people of color. As Jonas and the gentleman that just spoke said, it's going to target people who are poor, who for no other reason than their poverty live on the street. Really, what we should be looking at is how public policy and the city of Las Vegas and all of you on this council perpetuate public poverty by inadequate and negligent policy. Do your job, please. It costs much more money to put a homeless person in jail, which is the impact of this ordinance and your previous ordinance, than it does to provide people with proven solutions like transition.
Thank you so much, Mr. Phillips. And here's again, I'm going to just reiterate this one more time. Every time someone comes up here and says we're putting a homeless person in jail, I would really like for you to show me when the city of Las Vegas has ever jailed a homeless person, and especially since this ordinance has just been adopted November 10th, this has not happened. Please submit it to us. Please submit it to us. Thank you. And is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing none, I will close public hearing. Councilman, may I have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, prior to doing that, would it be possible, with your permission, to have our city attorney give an overview of what the recommending committee is, the purpose and intent for it? And then I have a couple of comments, and then I'll move forward with the motion, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Through you, Mayor Pro Tem, to the councilman's question. So the recommending committee's purpose is what its title is, recommending committee. It'll provide recommendations to the city council on any and all bills referred to it. It'll consider the bill, and then it will provide a recommendation, and that recommendation can be to approve the bill, to not approve the bill, or they could also report back no recommendation. So any type of recommendation is allowed by the committee, but generally, and as a matter of point, we do not use this committee to kill bills. We use it to provide recommendations one way or the other, or no comment, essentially, to the city council, which will then hear the bill as a whole in 2 weeks.
Thank you for that, Mr. Georgiak. So, Mayor Pro Tem, we agree on 99% of the things in the world. There's a few things that we do not agree on. On today's agenda, I believe there are several things that we may not agree on, and so with that, on this particular bill, I would move forward without a recommendation.
Thank you. There's a motion. Please vote. And post. Each bill moved out of committee today will be eligible for adoption at the City Council meeting of December 18, 2019. Our next item is Bill Number 2019-45 for possible action, amends the LVMC Chapter 6.50 to provide an exception to certain work card requirements for convenience stores that sell alcohol beverages, and clarify work card requirements for persons providing security in certain alcoholic beverage establishments, sponsored by Councilman Stavros Anthony. Staff?
Good morning, members of the committee. For the record, Mary McElhone, Deputy Planning Director. Currently, the way our ordinance works is that someone 21 and over has to have a valid work card on site at all times when a convenience store is open and operating. What this proposed language does is it removes that requirement and changes it that as long as a qualified person is made immediately available to Metro or the City of Las Vegas, they do not have to have somebody on site at all times with that work card. A qualified person in this case means an owner, a principal, or a key employee who has been approved for suitability. The other component of this ordinance has a cleanup section to it. In 2014, we made a change to this part of our code, but there was a typographical error in that change. So the intent was unclear. So we've now corrected that error, and the intent is now clear that a security officer who has a state issued card pursuant to NRS 648.080, which is the Private Investigator Licensing Board, makes it clear that they do not need a work card when they're working in a liquor establishment and performing security duties. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to be heard on this item? Hearing none, I'll close public hearing. Councilman, may I have a motion?
And Mayor Pro Tem, I would make a recommendation to move forward with a recommendation of yes.
Thank you.
You can say that more clearly.
Yeah, thank you.
You know what I mean.
We have a motion to approve. Thank you, Councilman Knutson. Each bill moved out of committee today will be eligible for adoption at the City Council meeting December 18, 2019. Bill number 2019-46 for possible action, amends the minimum speed special use permit requirements applicable for marijuana dispensaries as found in LVMC 19.12.070 to require a 1,000-foot minimum distance separation between marijuana dispensaries and to incorporate distance separation requirements between marijuana dispensaries and non-restricted gaming establishments as found in the state law. This is sponsored by Councilman Brian Knutson. Would anyone like to be, or staff? Sorry.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of the committee, Robert Summerfield, Director, Planning for the record. This bill will add additional non-waivable distance separation requirements as follows. It will add a 1,500-foot distance separation between the use and non-restricted gaming establishments as established by this most recent legislature. It will also add a requirement for a 1,000-foot distance separation between marijuana dispensary uses. Further, it will clarify that the distance separation from another marijuana dispensary applies to all marijuana dispensaries without regard to jurisdiction in which the use is located. So for instance, where our borders with North Las Vegas or the county exist, if a dispensary is on their side of the border, this distance separation would apply in those cases. And it would require, as a part of the measurement on that, it would require a survey that is signed and sealed by a licensed surveyor to be submitted as a part of the special use permit application. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. I talked to our councilman, our sponsor of the bill, and I would like to propose an amendment of the distance separation because of other wards, because this particular bill would make a big brush on all wards in the whole city, not just his ward. So is there possible of doing an amendment to make sure that it's door to door? Or how did we say? What did we want to do?
I believe you wanted. Mayor Pro Tem, I believe the conversation with planning staff was the ability to waive.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
So is that amendment in there?
So, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, this is as the bill was introduced, so this amendment that you are proposing after discussion with the councilman who's the sponsor, that would be something we would have to put in, and let's see, I'm trying to see where we would make that. Oh, okay, so in new condition number 2, we would make that condition, so we would change it from having the asterisk, which indicates that it's a non-waivable condition. So your amendment would be to strike the asterisk before condition number 2, which is, for this bill, it's page 2, line 9, to strike that asterisk. So that would be your amendment, and that could be a part of your recommendation or the recommendation of this body to pass it with that amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Summerfield. Councilman Knutson, can you make a motion with that amendment?
Yes, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. With the amendment stated more eloquently than I could by Mr. Summerfield, I would motion for approval to move forward with the recommendation of, I got to get the wording down right. Yes.
I think we just have to.
Yes, with the amendment. I'm going
How
to figure it
about
out by the
that?
next time.
Would you strike that asterisk? Thank you. Thank you so much. Does anyone wish to be heard on this bill?
Hi, good morning, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilman. Dawn Christensen with the Nevada Resort Association. We just wanted to come by and thank the councilman for the ordinance. Certainly the 1,500-foot buffer between cannabis establishments and non-gaming or non-restricted gaming establishments has been an important topic for us. So we appreciate the work that's gone into it, and we support the amendment, or excuse me, the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard on this bill? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Councilman Knutson, may I have a motion?
So I believe it's the same motion, correct, Councilman Knutson? That would be motion to recommend approval with the proposed First Amendment, eliminating the asterisk on page 2 to allow a waivable condition.
That is correct.
Thank you. Please vote, and we'll post. And that motion passes, and each bill will be moved out of committee today, will be eligible for adoption at the City Council meeting December 18, 2019. Now we're going to move on to Bill number 2019-47 for possible action. Amends LVMC Chapter 13.36 to expand the prohibition of smoking in the city parks so as to, 1, include the use of electronic smoking devices, and 2, generally apply throughout all park areas instead of specific areas. This again was sponsored by none other than Councilman Brian Knudsen. Staff?
The director's coming up.
Oh.
Thank you. As you mentioned, this ordinance amendment does expand the prohibition of smoking in city parks to include the use of electronic smoking devices, and generally applies throughout all park areas instead of specified areas. It also makes some clarifications with regards to smoking, which means inhaling, exhaling, burning, or carrying any liquid
Mr.
or
Weitzel,
heated
can you say your
cigar.
name for the record?
I'm sorry, Greg Weitzel, Director of Parks and Recreation. It also, the term includes the use of electronic smoking devices that creates an aerosol or vapor in any manner or any form, and the use of any oral smoking device. The amendment also includes the use of, that the director may permit the use of tobacco as part of a Native American spiritual or cultural ceremony, and as a matter of information only, state law prohibits the smoking or consumption in public places of marijuana, cannabis, or products thereof as specified by this statute.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to open the public hearing?
Yes. We did open public hearing.
I'm good?
Yep, just state your name and your address and pass the orange, do you have an orange slip?
I do.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
And we'll just pass the orange slip to our clerk.
Great. And I have a copy of my remarks if you'd like that as well.
Okay, that'll be
Okay.
perfect, thank you so much.
Okay, good morning and happy holidays. I'm Dr. Michael Johnson. I'm the Director of Community Health for the Southern Nevada Health District. I'd like to thank and acknowledge Councilman Knudsen's leadership in bringing this bill 2019-47 forward. This policy would prohibit smoking in all City of Las Vegas parks and recreational areas, and is an important step towards a healthier and safer Southern Nevada. One of the most important steps a community can take to protect and improve the health of its residents and visitors is to reduce exposure to secondhand smoke through the implementation of tobacco-free policies. The negative health effects of secondhand smoke are well documented. The U.S. Surgeon General concluded that there is no safe level of secondhand smoke. Many non-smokers, bless you, especially children who are exposed to outdoor tobacco smoke, suffer immediate symptoms including breathing difficulties, eye irritation, headaches, nausea, and asthma attacks. When this ordinance is implemented, your city will become one of more than 1,500 municipalities in the United States to have implemented a CDC best practice in tobacco-free parks and policies. And it will join the following Nevada communities: City of North Las Vegas, Henderson, Washoe County, City of Reno, Carson City, and Incline Village. Evidence supporting smoke-free policies generally falls into three broad categories. The first is individual health impact to non-smokers. The second is the environmental impact of tobacco litter. And the third is the public health impact of reinforcing smoke-free and vape-free as a social norm. At the Southern Nevada Health District, we've received complaints from park goers who are exposed to secondhand smoke while visiting parks and watching their children practice sports or play. They have also complained of cigarette butt litter. Discarded cigarette butts can be a major cause of fires, especially in arid environments. Cigarette butts discarded in a park have the possibility of polluting the environment, either by being littered directly into a local water source or indirectly by washing into drains that flow into rivers or lakes. According to the 2019...
Doctor, I'm sorry to interrupt you. How many pages do you have?
I'm almost done.
Okay, thank you.
According to the 2019 Nevada Adult Tobacco Survey, we also find that 74% of survey respondents support a law that prohibits smoking in outdoor public places such as parks and policies. So in closing, I would just like to state that the Southern Nevada Health District and myself strongly support Bill 2019-47.
Great, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Anyone else wishing to be heard on this bill?
Thanks.
State your name and address, please, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Amanda Habish-Deloy from the Nevada Institute for Children's Research and Policy at UNLV.
Good morning.
Morning. I just wanted to come up. I'm in neutral of this, and I just wanted to provide just a little bit of background information on how this would impact children and youth in our community. We think at the Nevada Institute for Children, it's really important to consider how all policies and regulations impact the youth in our community, since they definitely should be a priority. And research does show that the habits that are developed early in life often stay with youth throughout their adulthood. So this is one of the reasons why it's very important to promote healthy behaviors and environments in youth, so they have the best chance to be healthy as adults. Also, tobacco-free environments promote healthy role modeling in our communities. Research has shown that when youth see others smoking tobacco or using other tobacco products, that they see it as acceptable behavior. So by limiting exposure to this behavior, it will hopefully help limit their desire to participate in this behavior. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Anyone else wishing to be heard on this bill? If you'd like, if there's more people wishing to be heard on this bill, if you'll come up, we have 3 microphones.
Good morning.
This is it. Good morning.
I'm Will Rucker with the American Lung Association here in support of the bill. So on behalf of the American Lung Association, which is a nonprofit.
What's your address, sir?
89166.
What is that?
Las Vegas.
The zip code. Okay.
Correct. So we're dedicated to fighting lung disease through education, research, and public policy. So we certainly want to thank you for consideration of your smoke-free policies for the city of Las Vegas. This is an important health issue. We would like to voice strong support for this Las Vegas smoke-free parks. As you may know, the city of North Las Vegas took this step recently, and they are choosing to protect the health of their citizens, and we're asking you to do the same. Tobacco remains Nevada's largest public health threat. Secondhand smoke causes heart and lung disease, including lung cancer, and lung cancer is the #1 cancer killer in America. Breathing secondhand smoke is known to do things like cause ear infections in children, and even just passing through a cloud of secondhand smoke can trigger an asthma attack. Additionally, we want to strongly support the inclusion of vapor and e-cigarette products because they do contain harmful chemicals in those secondhand exposures as well. So I urge you to continue to support a strong smoke-free community by passing this ordinance in the city of Las Vegas. Let's make our city a healthier place to live.
Thank you so much. And then if you can just give our clerk that would be awesome. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard on this bill? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. Mr. Councilman Knutson.
Mayor Pro Tem, for the record, I also have 2 letters that were sent to me, one in support for bill number 2019-47 from the Nevada Public Health Association, and one from the Nevada Tobacco Prevention Coalition that was sent to the entire city council. I'm going to pass those over to the city clerk, as well as these cards. There's a variety of reasons for me to support this. I feel we may be at a stalemate, and so because of that, I am going to motion without recommendation. Motion to move forward without recommendation.
Thank you so much. There's a motion on the floor. Please vote. And post. That motion carries. It'll go to, we're going to move this out of committee today, and it'll be eligible for adoption at the city council meeting December 18th, 2019. We now are looking at bill number 2019-48 for possible action, repeals the LVMC 19.16.105 pertaining to the repurposing of certain golf courses and open spaces. This bill is sponsored by Councilwoman Victoria Seaman. Staff?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of the committee, Robert Summerfield, Director of Planning for the record. So this will repeal the code section in its entirety. There is a future, and so it would eliminate these provisions from having to be addressed when someone comes back to to repurpose an open space or a golf course. We are leaving the definition of open space alone. We think that the definition of open space that came through that process is good. I would also point out, although not a part of this action today, there is a bill that the bill sponsor did ask to be put forth and was at Planning Commission last week and was recommended to the City Council from that body, that will reintroduce the requirement for a neighborhood meeting to occur before a public hearing when there is a repurposing type of application. But at this time, this bill that's before you will repeal that section of the code. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Summerfield. Does anyone wish to be heard on this bill? I have several cards, and we have 3 microphones. I have Tom Douglas, Ron Iverson, Elaine Wagner, and James Burdell. Perfect.
Good morning, Mayor Pro Tem.
Good
My
morning.
name is Ron Iverson, and I live at 9324 Verlaine Court in Queensridge. While I'm a member of the Owners Board, I am here this morning addressing you as a Las Vegas resident. I'm opposed to the repeal of the current open space ordinance for the following reasons. First, the timing of the repeal effort is suspect to me. It does not go unnoticed that the timing of this recommendation meeting and the vote on the repeal of the open space ordinance are in very close proximity to major family holidays when ordinary travel and or traveling or entertaining family and close friends, and it appears to be a way to reduce public comment. Second, adequate notification of this meeting and the repeal vote was not given to city residents with the potential of being most impacted by the repeal. I recently returned from travel on Sunday because I heard about this particular meeting. I spoke to residents. No one in Queensridge was notified. The HOA was not given notification of any of the meetings, and it just appears a way to curtail public comment. Third, adequate review time to read and understand the newly proposed ordinance that was just mentioned has really not been given. While Councilwoman Seaman indicates that she wants to ensure public engagement in the redevelopment process, the new ordinance does not reportedly put timelines on the public engagement meetings, and they can be held basically the day before a council meeting to approve or disapprove a particular enactment. So again, it appears that this is a way to curtail public comment. And in addition, the new ordinance reportedly moves from required to discretionary a number of the impact statements that were required by the developer in making a decision that need to be submitted to council to make a decision. Finally, the current open space ordinance does not stifle development, but promotes responsible development. And it
Thank you so much, Mr. Iverson.
Can I have 10 more seconds?
10 more seconds, sir.
All right. So I strongly urge you to postpone this repeal decision and basically to try to amend the current ordinance rather than to repeal it and to adopt a new one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please state your name and address.
Tom Douglas, 9101 Alta Drive, Unit 405, Las Vegas. I very much appreciate all the work that was done last year by City Council in developing and approving this ordinance. I feel it's very important for all those involved, which includes developers, the citizens that would be involved with the changes in their neighborhood, and also the city. Therefore, I oppose repealing of this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Douglas. Please state your name and address.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I'm Jim Burdell. My address is 9103 Alta Drive, Unit 206, and I'm speaking in opposition to the amendment to the open space ordinance. And I'd like to put into the record 2 recommendations for the council writ large. The first thing is there's been a lot of acrimonious debate on this for a long time. We're relatively new residents, but when I looked at public planning and open space planning, I went looking for nationally recognized experts. And so I think we should engage a nationally recognized set of expertise in the use of public lands with respect to planning for our open spaces. And just out of curiosity, I looked up something called the Trust for Public Land, which is one of these nationally recognized things, and they have not engaged with us, the city, in any of our open space planning, but I was able to use their geographic information system to take a look at the Badlands area in terms of their rating for open space, and they rated it as a moderate area for maintaining open space, bordered on both sides by red, which is highly required open space. So we need to look at who we can engage that's outside of the city with economic impact pieces inside the city, and go with someone who's a little bit less one side or the other and get their honest opinion on how we should plan for open space. My second recommendation is, I've seen a lot of back and forth in the papers and other things saying that how much this is costing us to defend our city against lawsuits by the developer. And what I would like to do is I'd like to have the council engage our tax assessor's office and please take a look at what the impact has been since the time this was bought, and the outcome of what this place was going to be has been in flux. The impact on property values. I can tell you personally, in the unit I bought last year, I bought
10 seconds, Mr. Bordeaux.
Yes, ma'am. It's 25%, was worth 25% less than the previous year's assessment. So if you look at all of the parcels around the Badlands, we need to find out how much money it's cost us in terms of lost tax revenue since this time has.
Thank you. And I really appreciate you coming down.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. Bob Piccoli, 9740 Verlaine Court, in the Piccoli Master Plan community of Queensridge. When I read this, that you're proposing to revoke the ordinances in effect, I was appalled. That's the only word for it, because you have no reason to do what you're doing. I would point out that the ordinance that's in effect requires you to continue to operate the golf course or open space, find another party to do so. It has to be compatible with what you're trying to do, has to be compatible with the community. You have to have admission for schools, traffic, parks, emergency services, utility, infrastructure, etc. These are items that any good developer always does up front. What you've seen so far with Johan Lowy is he does them later. He comes in with these applications, he gets or tries to get his approvals, and then you have to start looking at problems like traffic, like school. School has already appeared at every one of the meetings and said, no, we're opposed to what you're doing because we're overcrowded now and there are no facilities. You have to understand that when you do these things up front before you put your applications in, it's out in the open, it's transparent, and you're doing what a good developer does. Our family has developed in this community and in the southern Nevada area since 1930s. We've developed at every area. We've developed commercials. We've developed residential.
10 seconds, Mr. Piccoli.
I would like to say my uncle developed Queensridge.
And I really thank you for coming down. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Terry Holden. I live at 9101 Alta Drive. Like the gentleman that have spoken before me, I agree that the existing open space ordinance should not be repealed. I just don't understand the logic of that. The existing bill was solid. It gave rights to homeowners. You know, what we're trying to do here is give rights to developers. We're concerned more about developers and the well-being of people that bought their dream home, and that just doesn't seem right. The other issue that's been touched on is the transparency of all this. Going to the planning on the 26th of November, we're here today, we're trying to shove it to the next meeting, makes zero sense. This is a big ticket item for the Las Vegas community and should not be looked upon half-heartedly. It is a big issue, should be researched, and it should be vetted and communicated to the community, because it doesn't impact just the people around Queensridge. This impacts everyone in Las Vegas. And it's just too big to put on fast track and run it through the system. More transparency.
Thank you, sir. Hi.
Hello, good morning. We are back again.
Can you just state your name and address, please?
Elaine Winger-Reisner. I reside at 9811 Orient Express Court. And as a resident of Queensridge, I would just like to say I echo the comments that have been made before me. But I'm actually here today as president of the Queensridge Owners Association to request the recommending committee not approve this bill. I mean, not recommend it to City Council. The board makes this request as our community to give our community and Councilwoman Seaman the opportunity to schedule a minimum of 2 town halls at our clubhouse and follow up with a survey, a community survey, if needed. Historically, we have been a very engaged community, and we would like our input noted and our questions answered. Meeting with Councilwoman Seaman would accomplish this and represents responsible government. We believe we have a right to be heard on an issue that affects our community. And we had several residents write the council. I'm sure you all had emails from Queensridge residents. And in response, we had a very timely response sent from Councilwoman Seaman's office. And I would just like to highlight 3 sentences here. She states to us in reply, "During my campaign, I ran on finding a fair and reasonable resolution to the issues I inherited involving the future of the property where the now closed Badlands Golf Course once operated. I am committed to that resolution being reached in a manner that involves all parties." And she ends her letter to us, to the community, saying, "I look forward and I'm assuming she says do, but I think she meant as I deal with any issues facing Ward 2 in working with all parties to find a fair resolution that resolves this issue once and for all." And I would just like to repeat, we have not even been called. We haven't even had one town hall. And Councilwoman Seaman was in the paper, had a marijuana dispensary town hall, heard the residents, heard her constituents, and said that she was going to vote against it.
Thank
We
you
would
so
just like
much.
the same opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard on the bill? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to move to approve the bill to, I'm going to move to approve this bill to go to our council meeting. So each of these bills moved out of committee today will be eligible for adoption at the city council meeting, December 18, 2019. That motion passes. We're going to move into citizen participation now. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the committee. No subject may be acted upon by the committee unless that subject is on the agenda and scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name and correct spelling for the record. Does anyone want to come up? Great. We're adjourned.